Several new bills have been introduced at the state capitol in an effort to curb childhood obesity.
One measure would require at least 3 hours of physical movement for students in grades K through 8. Others would provide funding for nutritional education. Jason Zimmerman breaks down the details and potential impact in tonight's First Alert update.
Childhood obesity is a growing concern in Wisconsin, according to lawmakers who just held a series of 5 public hearings asking for feedback.
We are failing our kids. We have not invested in our families in healthy weight management education.
Which is why Assembly Speaker Robin Vos launched a bipartisan task force, which this week proposed a series of bills. This includes legislation requiring students in physical education classes through the 8th grade to have physical movement at least 3 hours per week.
Many of our schools are already required to do Phy-Ed, but instead of focusing sheerly on the academic section, perhaps on what is tennis, we're going to actually get our kids playing tennis and moving as much as possible.
Another bill would create a $5 million grant program to support existing efforts to address childhood obesity. While it would require a private sector match, counties, school districts, and community organizations would be able to apply for the funding. Plus, a third bill would provide extra money to food share recipients for the purchase of locally produced fruits and vegetables from places like a farmer's market.
The work we have accomplished with this task force is encouraging. Phase 60 will ensure all kids get the exercise they need. Eating nutritious whole foods is something we all strive to do each day. Food additives and sugars are contributing to our childhood obesity.
Lawmakers will also consider making the last week of April School Nutrition Professionals Appreciation Week. Right now, it's unclear how soon any of these bills will be voted on. Reporting in the Fox Valley News from Jason Zimmerman, Action 2 News.